should have seen it. The 5th helicopter was landing as the sun poked its face over the mountains. My iPhone read 8:58 a.m. and we were right on time. This 8-month project was finally coming together, and it was working. I couldn't believe it. It was really working. Inside, over 600 senior executives took their seats for Western Canada's largest marketing and PR conference. The former vice president at Disney steps onto our stage. A massive 56-foot glowing LED screen lurks behind. This was the big leagues. And little did these executives know that I, a 4th-year business student, was a director behind this. I was actually skipping one of my last HR classes to be there. And better yet, I was receiving class credit to see the whole idea unfold. Our team built this incredible 2-day conference from everything we could think of. Helicopter drop-offs for the speakers, Tesla shuttles for the VIPs, morning hikes, after parties, the whole 9 yards. We wanted to make it so magical of an experience that they didn't have to think for a second of coming back the next year. And the brands must have been impressed by the bar we set as we had speakers from companies like Amazon, Airbnb, McDonald's, Forbes, Microsoft, and many more link arms to make this idea a reality. The classic system we've been taught is get a good education, land a great job, get some experience, and then go create impact. I'd like to share with you that there's another way to create impact without actually having the right qualifications. In fact, I'd like to share with you how being unqualified doesn't disqualify you from making an impact. I was 20 years old, interning on Parliament Hill, helping support the day-to-day operations of one of Canada's chief opposition whips. Data entry, stapling, filing, shredding, those were my day-to-day tasks. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks into the internship that something interesting happened. I was on a coffee break when I noticed on my Instagram story that one of the world's top tech CEOs and my business idol had just posted a picture 2 minutes walking distance from where I stood. So I do what any keen intern would do, and I message a CEO to meet for coffee. And what's his response? Nothing. This CEO, Ryan Holmes, was the founder and CEO of the world's largest social media management platform called Hootsuite, used by over 800 of the Fortune 1000 companies. So to do him one better, I jumped onto as many social media platforms imaginable to send my coffee message from a different direction. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, MySpace, Club Penguin, Morse code, MSN, you name it, I tried it. And Ryan must have found this machine gun approach rather flattering, as actually shortly later, he shot me a message back to not meet for coffee, but join him on a walk to his next coffee. And I was actually in the middle of a meeting myself and not wanting to be fired from my internship. I asked if maybe we could meet a bit later in the day. Again, his response, nothing. He was a busy guy and he wasn't going to dance around to find the perfect time to meet. And so that night I went home and I did a little digging around. I found that actually in our Facebook message, one of the coordinates he had invited me to in the coffee meeting was actually a hotel in downtown Ottawa. So I do what any keen intern would do, and I give this hotel a call. Good evening. My Uncle Holmes is staying in your hotel for meetings this week. His birthday is actually tomorrow, and I was wondering if maybe I could drop off a gift to surprise him. And without wanting to upset a perceivingly thoughtful nephew, they reply and they say, why, of course. What's the full name of your uncle? And I say, his full name's Ryan Holmes. They check it up and, why, of course, his room's 1982. And I say, thank you so much. He's gonna love his gift. It was showtime. I gather up my buddy, rush over to the grocery store nearby to assemble a Vancouver care package. As we could only assume, he was missing home. We grabbed some craft beer, chips, ice cream, fruit, anything we could think of, put it together in a cardboard box, taped with a breakfast invitation on the top for the next morning. Heading over to the hotel, we were as giddy as two kids about to open up a Christmas gift, except this time, we were the gift givers. We stepped into the beautiful hotel lobby, make our way for the elevator, step inside, make eye contact, give a James Bond nod, and click floor 19. There was no going back now. The doors slowly peer open. We make our way down the hall, right to Ryan's room, and leave our gift right at the door. We make our way back to the elevator. I head back down to the lobby while my friend watches guard at the end of the hall in reflection with a mirror to make sure that no one picks up the gift. I glide over to the front desk and remind them that I was the nephew that had dropped off the gift for my uncle, and I ask if maybe they could ring up his room to let him know that it's there. And they say, well, legally, since it's past 9 p.m., we're not allowed to call his room, but since you're his nephew, you can. And I sit there with a smile, and within a couple seconds, they hand me the phone, and 2 rings later, Ryan's on the other end. Ryan here. Hey, Uncle Holmes, it's just your nephew Joel saying that it's great to see you in Ottawa, and I've left a birthday gift right at your door. And without giving him enough time to realize that it wasn't his birthday, he doesn't have a nephew named Joel, and I should know that he's in Ottawa. I thanked the receptionist, gave them the phone, and walked to the hotel like I knew exactly what I was doing. When in fact, I had no clue what was going to happen next. I wasn't sure if I was getting fired from my internship, kicked out of Hellesy, getting something from the police. But as if the silence didn't give me enough time to think, the infamous millennial ding came from my iPhone. I checked it, and it was a Facebook message from Ryan saying that he had loved the gift, and he wants to meet for a coffee and jog the next morning. The next day, I lace up my shoes, head to the jog, and it was anything but a business meeting. It was a personal relationship where we talk about our upbringing, our families, projects we're working on, and things that inspire us. And it gave me a clear light bulb realization that it's not necessarily our Harvard degree, our Google executive background, or 15 years of experience in marketing that enables us to pursue unique ideas. It definitely will position us to be more successful in that current state, but there's no reason for preventing us from pursuing those ideas right now. If we can simply reverse engineer our end outcome and approach things from a more creative angle, you might be surprised with what you can end up with. And in this case, it was a jogging date with my business idol. Being unqualified does not disqualify you from creating impact. Aside from re-engineering your idea, one key resource that's critical to creating impact if you don't have the proper qualifications is working with someone that does. If you can find someone with expertise, character, or value alignment, it's foolish not to ask someone for coffee. Picture this. If you're trying to build a wheelbarrow and you know a wheel maker that lives across the city, why not ask that wheel maker to jump in on your idea? Here's another story that might help you consider for a mentor when the next idea comes up. I was in my 3rd year of university, again with a bit too much time on my hands. A friend of mine, David Phenomenal, had recently launched a charity called Lighthouse Voyage, an organization that was focused on freeing and rehabilitating human trafficking victims from the slums of India. 2 of his friends had just embarked on a bike trip from Belgium all the way to India to raise awareness for the charity. And they wanted to build the story and engage others outside of the school's community. And so I proposed to David that maybe we host a welcome home party for when they return. And he said, go for it. But within a couple days, I hit a roadblock. I realized students are pretty broke and we don't have a lot of money to give. But what we do have to give is our heart, our time, and our energy. And so instead of calling it a welcome home party and inviting students, we called it a gala and invited donors and business executives. Again, we started reaching out over social media, email, cold calls, and within a couple weeks, I was amazed by the response from other people seeing beyond our inexperience to help provide a lending hand. Companies like TELUS, the Rennie Group, Fairmont, sports teams, you name it, people were receptive to the idea. And within a couple months, in the heart of January, one of the worst giving seasons of the year, the unimaginable happened. Within 2 hours of the night of the gala, we raised over $75,000 to go directly toward the freeing and rehabilitating of human trafficking victims. We had over 130 people attend and 30 brands contribute in some capacity. This was all done by students that could barely cover their own tuition. This was all done by young people that have no business being in the fundraising business, handling checks of $15,000. This was all done, which initially started as a welcome home party for 2 friends on a bike trip. Being unqualified doesn't for a second disqualify you from creating impact. In that conference at the beginning, it entirely shifted me and the lens in which I now evaluate opportunities to this day. At the conference, we had over 45 speakers travel across North America to speak at the event. Some of the speakers mentioned that they had never been treated that well at a conference. A couple of them offered jobs, and some of them even mentioned that if they knew how young I was, it could have been a business liability to attend. But what each of the speakers reminded our team is that when we chase an idea so bold that regardless of the result, we're profoundly shaped as people, there's no mistake we can make at all. And we might not have heard back from that email we sent Elon Musk. And I know there's things we can improve on for the next year, but as a result of saying yes to an idea that our team was not prepared for, we were all profoundly shaped as individuals, and our lives changed as a result. And do you want to know the best part? We're not anomalies at all. We're some of the millions of people in this world that are unqualified, inexperienced, undereducated, that still keep swinging the bat. Does the world overlook Einstein just because he wasn't a straight A honor student in school? Or Mother Teresa because she didn't have the right NGO certificate to pursue her impact? Or Beethoven because he didn't have the best hearing? The writing is on the wall in bold and the clearest Times New Roman font. Being unqualified does not disqualify you from creating impact. And if you need 3 tips to remember for the next idea or projects that come your way, consider these. 1, reverse engineer your end outcome to approach things from a more creative angle. 2, work with a qualified mentor that aligns with your end goal. And 3, most importantly, chase an idea so bold that regardless of what happens, we're profoundly shaped as individuals. Who is your dream meeting that if you think you called on a fake birthday, wouldn't pick up on the other end? What idea is waiting at home on a shelf just because it isn't the right time or you don't have the right letters at the end of your name? Often, I feel that the biggest limitations in the world are actually sometimes the ones that we create for ourselves. And I'm not saying that you don't need the right degree, you don't need 20 years of experience, or you don't need the right time to make an impact. I'm saying that in the world we live in today, and the tools we have at our fingertips, the barriers to entry for being qualified are shifting drastically. And if we could begin seeing barriers and limitations as actually ingredients to pursue ideas a bit more creatively, imagine the world we would live in. Imagine the problems we would solve. So my challenge to you leaving the room today is a simple one. The next idea you have, or maybe it's already one in your head, consider the next active step forward you would take if qualifications weren't required. Then write it down and go do it. Thank you.